Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a not super tired, because we all stayed up late, episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. It's going to be a bright and early and fantastic Saturday Morning D&D Show. Happy New Year. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle, and I'm joined always by my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucien, over at Sir Lucien Gaming. Good morning. Hello. How are you?
Good morning. Welcome to 2022. I think that's a cool number for a year. 2022.
Yeah. It's a tongue twister. It reminds me of the what to do to die today, like da, 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 like 2022. A little Irish accent came out there. I'm not sure why.
I think it was like the eye vision I want. I want 2022 eye vision. When somebody asked me, I've got 2020. Wow, I got 2022.
Yeah, we were talking about 2021, or no, 2020 is when I became old enough to essentially run for president, because you have to be a certain age, I think.
Right.
And so we were always going to be like 2020, a new vision for America. Like, that's great. Like, that's my campaign slogan. But welcome, everybody. We're very excited to have you here, and we're excited to have a brand new year. This is going to be a show where we kind of talk about 2021 in review and the things that we liked, the books that came out for D&D and various other things. I wrote down a lot of stuff like Kickstarters we backed, and because I looked back, we have notes all the way from the very beginning of the show. Every episode, Lucien and I have a shared Google document that we throw all of our talking points into and things like that. And I went back to the first episode of 2021, and it's like, here's our New Year's goals, which I didn't keep in mind throughout the entire year. So that was dumb. But I didn't hit any of my goals. We can talk about those a little bit too. No. But I guess I'll say, first of all, how was Christmas for you? What was going on? We haven't been here for
Christmas was good. So the only bad thing about Christmas and New Year's at this point, because it just passed, was that there was no real D&D. It was just all everybody hanging out with family. But I felt like Christmas was pretty good. I got a couple of hats. So I got a little Moon Knight hat, and you might recognize that one.
Hero Academy, yeah. I haven't seen Hero Academy. People love it, though.
Really? I love it. I also got my book from the Mighty Car Mods YouTube channel, one of my favorite YouTube channels on the internet. They're an Australian group, or dudes, that rebuild cars over in Australia, and their channel is super big over there. And they put out a book of all the cars they've done over their whole span of being on YouTube and all the cars they've had and stuff. It's really cool. What else I got? I got Snowblower. That's pretty cool.
That's
big electric
good.
one.
You need those.
Other than that, watched a lot of TV, watched a lot of Netflix stuff, watched a lot of Hulu stuff, watched a lot of movies, Venoms, and what else did we see? And
I did see Venom. I saw Matrix.
Venom.
Resurrection. It's always an R word that I can't remember.
But I feel like I missed Spider-Man so far. I have not gone on with that yet.
Spider-Man was so good. But you had to go to the theaters for that one.
Yeah.
I made a special
That might
trip.
be this weekend.
It was really good. That was
good. Other than that, Steam sale kept me going throughout the couple of weeks that everybody was off D&D, because if I didn't have that, I'd have been lost for sure. I needed some gaming throughout these last couple of weeks, and so it's been pretty good. I found some cool games. I have one that I'll show you, I think, called... it's on my desktop here. Heroes Hour, that I think you might like. A little indie game from, what is it, itch.io?
Oh, yeah. One of those. Well, that's not a company. Yeah. That's a place to buy indie games, but yeah.
Indie games, yeah. But indie developer, he put a free demo version out that plays 4 factions, and then it has a total of 10 factions if you want to give him $10 for his game.
Nice.
And it's really cool, called Heroes Hour.
Heroes Hour.
I'll show you that after the show. Looks pretty good.
Sounds good.
But what about your Christmas? You have a family, I assume it was super big Christmas present unwrapping day.
It was. We kind of unwrapped our presents for each other this morning.
Oh, okay.
Just to curve the amount of presents that were happening. And then the rest of my family showed up and we opened a bunch of presents, but it was fun. I got I should have worn it today. I don't know what I was thinking, but I got a Old School Essentials t-shirt, and it's got the guy summoning the demon and his hands are rising up out, and I just love that art, so I thought that was really fun. And I got a couple of Switch games, and I've been playing one of them called Wild at Heart, which I really enjoy.
That's a good name.
The art style is super cartoonish, and it kind of reminds me of the way Paper Mario was. I don't know if you ever played Paper Mario on the N64, where it's 2-dimensional but 3-dimensional. So you're kind of like a 2-dimensional art, and you walk around, but you're going through this forest, and you're trying to find supernatural things to help you and protect the forest. And if you go out, it's got a time cycle. And if you go out at night, that's when like the super scaries come out. And I'm like, and then you're like racing from lantern to lantern to try and get back to a home base where you're protected. And,
so is that more like a Zelda game? Maybe like a Zelda-ish?
Yeah, it is kind of Zelda-ish. And it kind of combines like Pikmin from Nintendo, because you have these little forest sprites that help you. And then, so I have this entourage of like 20 sprites behind me, and then I can pick them up and throw them. And depending on the type of sprite and where you throw them, they can do different things. Like they can break down a wall, or they can lift and carry something out of the way. So it's kind of a casual puzzle game, and you're also collecting resources to rebuild the home base to like protect the forest. Really easy to just kind of like sit on the couch and play and veg, and it's fun. And there's nothing that's exactly what I wanted for the holidays. I was like, I don't have to really overcommit to this. I kind of just hang out. So, but Wild at Heart, I recommend it. I really like it so far, and I think it's also on other systems. It's just what I got on Steam. It's really good on the Steam. I was gonna say Steam Deck. That's not wrong. The Switch. There you go.
The Switch, because you do have the Steam Deck, right?
No, Steam Deck's not released yet.
Oh.
So that's the Steam handheld device. That's going to be... I did pre-order it, though, because I'm a big Steam computer fan. So they are going to start shipping those in February. I'm kind of watching that, though. I think it's going to be really cool. So, and then...
Hola, nerds in the chat.
Welcome back. Hello. So other little things here and there. I got a board game called Windward that I need to learn how to...
There's a Steam game, if it's anything like it, because it's really cool on Steam.
Well, it's a really cool looking board game. So
the ship sails around and
yeah, it's a ship on like a planet. So, yeah.
Oh, check out the Steam game too. You might like that too. It was really fun.
That's probably a good way to learn how to play.
I wonder how they did it in a board game, because
I think it was
basically in the computer, it's like you can't see much, so you're exploring as a ship, but you can only see as much as you get, and the world just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can trade. You got to pay attention to the wind so that your ship can.
That's the whole mechanic. Is the wind changes every round, and you can't go into the wind.
Right.
So you can go away from the wind as free movement, and then you get an extra set of movement to kind of move yourself around the board to collect resources and attack. I don't know. Vicious space whales that you need their resources in order to win. I haven't played it yet, but I was going through the rules, and it looks really fun.
If you ever put the board out and set it out, send me a picture, because I'd like to see how that looks.
Yeah,
because the game was really cool, and it's multiplayer. So if you had some friends, you could play Windward multiplayer.
I love it. Looking back on episode 145, we were on episode 191.
Wait, did your son get any D&D stuff?
No.
Oh my God! What a horrible dad.
Yeah.
You didn't give him a dice set. You didn't buy him a
he's
hoodie.
Like, those are like choking hazards right now. So no, but he does play with my dice under supervision, and he loves it because he'll come downstairs and see me and go, "Dice? Play dice?" I'm like, "Yeah."
You didn't get him his first box set. You didn't.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he can read, maybe we'll up the ante. Start out small with like No Thank You Evil and work our way into D&D.
Just read him the DMG at night, when he's going to bed. Let it sink in.
Okay. No, I didn't get him anything gaming related. He got so many presents from family members, so he's well spoiled.
Okay.
To the point of like, because his birthday was in November, and I was like, I don't feel right about this, but like I kind of think we should not give him some of these birthday presents that he didn't get time to unwrap, and we'll just use them again at Christmas, because like it was too much. Like he didn't know what to do with all of the stuff that he was given. So I'm like, go play with your pots and pans. You're good.
Yeah, we'll rewrap them a couple years down the line. Yeah. Rehand them to him. He'll never know.
Yeah, but he got a wagon and a tent, and he likes playing in the tent. So It's all very exciting.
Very cool. All right, I was just wondering when the indoctrination was going to happen. Is really what I'm.
So we actually don't have Lucien here, but I had 2021 personal gaming aspirations in episode 145, which was on January 2nd, 2021. And mine were playtest my OpenD6 game, run a homebrew game in Endigar, my world that I was creating, and run Invisible Sun. I did a little playtesting to the point where I realized I don't like what I was working on, so I need to like go back and fix my OpenD6 hack. But the other two I did not do, and I feel really sad. I was like, oh, I really wanted to run Invisible Sun. So maybe 2022 will be the year for Invisible Sun for Jordan, and I want to. If I can't do if I can't do it in real life, I want to do it online. And the same thing for Endigar. If I can't do it on real life, I should run a D&D game in online for some people and stream it or not. I don't know. Either way, I just kind of I like playing at the table. So I constantly am going back and wanting to play at the table. But the quality of people that I can play with and the consistency of people I can play with online is much higher than the other way around. So not to say that my friends are not like really awesome at the table. They are, but like their schedules are just all over the place. So, but what do you want to do
so that's interesting.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions for gaming?
No, because I did the same thing last year. Like you say them and immediately forget them. I think it was like, go to the conventions and those kinds of things. But it was 2021, so it was still nobody was sure what was going to happen, what wasn't going to happen. We were still in the throes of, that.
Get invited. Have the Saturday morning D&D show. Get invited to D&D Live. That's the goal.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like, and I don't even think that they didn't even do a real D&D Live.
It was all virtual with like celebrity hosts and stuff. Yeah,
but I think that I do know one thing I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks or this month, and I know people in the show are probably thinking the one thing I've been saying. I've been thinking 2022 might be the year I jump into Pathfinder a little bit.
Do it.
I keep looking at the rules. I've been reading. I've been watching some videos.
Pathfinder and the Vertical Hex Crawl. Go.
Yeah, true. Yeah, second edition. Jump into second edition a little bit. I like the artwork. I watched another Dungeon Master who is a Pathfinder 2e Dungeon Master do his 1 year review, and he talked about what he liked, what he didn't like, and I thought, okay, it's starting to grow on me. And I've loved I got Kingmaker as a free game off of the Epic Game Store. Epic Game Store gives out free games almost weekly. They give out one free game a week, and Pathfinder Kingmaker came up, so I got that one for free. I already had the new one that they had just put out, which was really good, and I was just like, I just keep getting into it. And I think what I like about it is the amount of different characters you can create. So I think that's got me hooked. Any TTRPG where the number of characters I could create is above 20, 30, 40, 50, so then I'm in. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. This I want to see. So
they do point out in chat there is a great Pathfinder 2 Humble Bundle right now, which I think I told you about. So
yes, and I've bought the Pathfinder Humble Bundles before, but I think what I also mean by getting into it this year, it's I want to start buying some of the books like I do with Dungeons and Dragons, so I have them in hand. I got to find a group that's maybe willing to either play or I play in. And the other thing would be the thing I'm waiting for is their character creator on Demiplane, which is the big thing. I'm hoping it'll be this year that they release at least the beta version of it so we can get on there and create some 2E characters, know that we're doing it the right way. And I think when I get that confidence, then I'm really ready to jump in.
Yeah. So for what was that company called?
Paizo?
No. Demiplane. So Demiplane is also, they also got the license to do Modifius games, I think. So I think Alien is going to be on there, good. And I think, and I don't, again, I'm not sure because it's a lot to code a whole thing, but my friend was very excited because Vaesen is going to be on there, and Tales from the Loop and all of those ones, the Free League ones. So yeah.
They have a great lineup on there,
which would be really cool because a lot of those are the same system. So if you code it correctly, you don't have to it doesn't have to change a whole bunch between those other than the skin kind of a thing.
Yeah, so. And I'm glad if that's a true thing, and I'm glad if it continues to go that way, where Demiplane is able to acquire licensing rights to multiple games, so they're not tied to just a single one, like D&D Beyond is tied just to Dungeons & Dragons at this point. Although I guess they're doing their one other game that they're creating, but they haven't done somebody else's game at this point. So I like the idea that maybe Demiplane is spanning out, and we'll get, because if they could get Modifius, if they could get Monty Cook, if they could get, they've got, Paizo, that's the big three on the block besides your Dungeons and Dragons one, really. So that's pretty good. Those are pretty big publishers putting out really good games.
Yeah, man, that would be really cool if there was a Numenera one.
Except like an Invisible Sun one, to make sure you're doing it right, because like when you're building your character, Invisible Sun.
I would like an Invisible Sun character creator, because it's kind of a complex process. What is really cool, though, is Monty Cook Games created a website that has, it's kind of hidden within the book, and then in order to access it, it tells you to enter a sentence from a specific page on the book. So they're trying to be like, please have bought the book in order to use this website, without doing a lot of user registration. But it is the tarot card flips. So they have the whole tarot card deck there, and a Path of the Sun's board, and you can click it and it'll animate the card and flip the tarot card and put it on the board and tell you all that stuff. So they're like a little way there. That was very helpful to play. And I think he created that to play away from the table, because there's this like, I forget what it's called, but it's like a side mission kind of thing where you could literally have tea. I say tea. You could have coffee or something with one player. Yep. And then while you guys are talking, they could have a little side mission. And the idea is you bring out your phone and you start tapping the tarot cards to explain what's happening there. So I thought that was really cool. But
yeah, he was trying to do some real innovative stuff with that game. So, I mean, it's I really want to see somebody who's really into it. I know James was into it. I wonder if we had him on and we could talk about it. Or just another person that's deep into it.
No, he does not like Invisible Sun.
He didn't like Invisible Sun?
Every time I post about it, his wife works for Monty Cook
Right,
Games.
Yeah.
But every time I post about Invisible Sun, he's just like, I just don't get that game. I don't understand it. I really tried.
Have them come on and explain it.
Yes, 100%.
Answer
but
our questions.
She didn't like it, and he felt that it was too confusing. And it is. It's complicated on purpose. Like, he wanted to try and make a complicated game. So, year in review. Do you know all of the books that came out? D&D official books for 2021?
I hope you have the list. I could go through the
notes. I put a list up there,
but
I was going to say, I was writing the list, and I was just like, well, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And I like da-da-da-da-da. And then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, Tasha's was 2020. Like, that was the most influential book of 2021 to me. But when I looked at it, I was like, but I guess you're right. It didn't come out. So, because that was the end of 2020, which is why I think I was using it at the beginning.
The first book, let me guess, was Matt's book. I thought we started 2021 with Critical Role.
I don't think so. Did we?
Was that the first? I thought that was the first book. What's your list say?
It says Candlekeep in March.
No, that was the first one.
I thought so.
That doesn't seem right. Chat, check us out.
I'm pretty sure Candlekeep was the first one, but let us look at Wikipedia, because Wikipedia doesn't lie.
List of books released, right? It's on the internet. It's true. While you're looking that up,
yeah, go ahead.
I'll stall for you a second. If you didn't get a chance to watch Nicolas Cage in Willy's Wonderland on Netflix, you are doing yourself a disservice. You should watch Nicolas Cage in that movie. It is something to see. Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland.
Welcome to Willy's Wonderland, or something like that.
So yeah, Wild Beyond, or Explorer's Guide to Wildmount.
That was the first one.
That came out March 17th, 2020.
Oh, how did 2021? So I was thinking of the year before then. That
Yes.
was the first book. And that was when
And they haven't
so
released
that's
another
Tasha's
one.
year. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got Candlekeep in March.
So this year was Candlekeep, Mysteries in March. And then May was Van Richten's Guide, and that was the big one. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. And then the three that followed were Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Fizzbands, and Strixhaven.
Oh, that's a weird year.
Isn't it? I don't know why, but I think they doubled down on... Well, we had one big adventure. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight makes sense, because they usually do one adventure a year. Candlekeep Mysteries makes sense, because it's kind of this early book that they're trying to, like, we're going to push it out, and it's going to be a bunch of little things.
Yeah, it's got lots of little parts. Yeah.
And then the other three, one was a monster lore book, which is Fizzbins. And then Strixhaven is really more of an adventure than a setting guide, as I was reading it.
But it is their Magic the Gathering.
But it is their Magic
for
the Gathering setting that they don't do every year, but they do, because there's only
they have been recently. I thought
3 of them total, like
yeah.
Theros,
Ravnica,
Vis, and Ravnica.
Yeah, Ravnica, Theros. Yep.
So it's not like they're putting those out all the time. And then, but I think the really big one was supposed to be Van Richten's Guide, and I don't know anyone using that book, and I feel bad saying that, because like everyone loves Ravenloft. I think it was a very well done book. I liked the idea of all these domains of dread, but I don't know anybody really playing it.
Mm-mm.
So
no, they'll just go back and play the original Strahd adventure.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves
either
to
the
go back
5e
and play
version
that.
or another version.
Yeah, they love playing that adventure. But I have not heard of a lot of people wanting to say, okay, now that we have the expanded world, let's go do this thing. I haven't heard or seen a bunch of games based on that.
But to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of people playing Wild Beyond the Witchlight either. And
so I'd have to say that's a pretty weak year for them. That's an interesting...
Well, what constitutes a solid year for you? Because that's 6 books or 5 books.
One that stands out more?
I guess, yeah. So
one that I'm constantly... I still go to Tasha's.
You want like a player's hand. You want a Xanathar and a Tasha.
I still go to Xanathar's constantly. I go to Tasha's constantly. I still love a Mordecai and Zeravolos.
Which that's kind of what Fizzbins was.
I guess maybe Fizzbins would have been the one I would have latched onto, but I didn't get it for some reason. I did get Strixhaven.
Fizzbins does have the dragon. It's got new Dragonborn, like basically fixed Dragonborn. And it also has the Draconic Ranger that you were like, the Drake Warden or whatever. So.
The Drake Warden is cool. That's one of the characters I do want to play. Interesting. That's very interesting that I still feel like it's weak, though. Or do you feel like it's a strong year for them?
No.
Release-wise?
But no. I would be curious about the sales, because Wizards has been doubling their sales every year.
Yeah. Well, everybody buys everything.
But a lot of these are not necessarily... like the doubling of sales isn't because of these 5 books. It's because they're selling lots and lots of PHBs and monster manuals and
and of those books, how many would
Xanathars.
players buy, and how many are just for the DM off that list? So you said they released 7 books.
Oh, this entire list is Dungeon Masters.
Yeah, so there's not
you have
really
5
a
Dungeon Master
player
books.
Facing.
There are player things in there, but like I don't know a player. I don't know a player that's buying Van Richten's Guide to get all of the content in it. Yeah.
So, not like everybody bought Tasha's.
Yeah,
like
I feel
it wasn't
like,
just Dungeon Masters.
You're like that's the PHB plus 1. So
yeah, you buy Xanathar's. That's what's missing, I guess, for me, is a rule expansion or a class spell expansion book targeted for players more than Dungeon Masters.
And
that's
I think,
what I don't see in there.
Yeah, spell expansion, you say that, and I feel like a lot of people thought Strixhaven was going to be that. Like a lot of extra spells and a lot of all this other stuff.
No,
but
there were really stingy.
There were only like 5 or 6 new spells.
Yeah.
So
and people got mad about one of them or 2 of them. They're just like, they're still having that argument on Twitter right now about Silvery Barbs?
Yeah, Silvery Barbs.
Yeah.
They don't like it. They don't like the Silvery Barbs.
Well, I would say, I mean, when I say weak, I don't mean I bought a few of them. I still think they're quality books if you get them. They always have fantastic artwork in them. If you're a dungeon master looking to run any games in some of those settings, you're like, this was great. I finally can do a Domain of Dread, or I can finally do a Domain of Delight, or I can finally do a Feywild adventure that I've been waiting to do if it fits the type of, Feywild that was in your mind. I think that was the other thing, is their versions of the books didn't align, and it's not their fault. I'm just saying it didn't align with what I thought the version of their book would be. Like when we said we wanted a Feywild Shadowfell book, I mean, we had this grandiose thought of this epic book of factions and things happening, and it wasn't that. It was like, here, you get a carnival, and you get Candyland, and you get a couple of other things, and it just wasn't. It just turned me off the way they kind of went too whimsical, I guess, too Alice in Wonderland. I wasn't looking for. When I say Feywild, I don't think of Alice in Wonderland. I feel like that's what that book portrays. So I guess that one turned me off a little bit. So I don't know, Wizards, you got to bump your game up. I guess, well, they're going to give me Spelljammer next year. So this year,
hypothetically.
Right? So, no, confirmed. Lucian says confirmed.
But then I like taking the Sly Flourish approach to this, where it's always like, we need to need to hold Wizard books to the same level as some of these third-party books, because those third-party books are doing really well and really cool.
Yeah. And what's the list of Kobold Press's releases?
And that was the thing, is you can go look that up if you want. But I specifically put Vault of Magic on here by Kobold Press, because that was a book that I have been wanting for such a long time. Not Kobold Press's version, but like a magic item book that incorporates like tables, and I can roll randomly, and I can find and I don't know, like, I really liked that book, and it was fun to flip through. I have it on my shelf. I got the PDF. That magic item book incorporates the SRD, the system reference document, tables of magical items from D&D. So when I roll on that, I could be rolling on tables in the Dungeon Master's Guide or on the Vault of Magic. So it just expands the amount of magic items that you could potentially give to your players. So I think that was a huge, huge hit. And the Kickstarter for that might have gone up in 2020, and they just fulfilled it in 2021. But that's when I picked it up. So that's why I think of it as a 2021. It was really cool, though. Like, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's got to be when you get the book, right? Not necessarily when they started designing it or when they gathered the money for it, I guess. Kickstarter's weird to think of it that way. Yeah, because even Monty Cook books, we got some good 5e content. We got Tollus from Monty Cook in 2020.
Right. Oh, the Hype Goblin is in chat. Welcome.
Hey, hello.
I am super enjoying all of your silly reels on Instagram, Hype Goblin. So those are fun. Keep them up. But she asked, like, do we think Strahd was bad? Not bad, but like a lack of interest because it came out too late after Ravenloft? And that's a good question. I don't think
the
so. The
remaster?
No. Not the remaster, just Van Richten's Guide came out too late. Because Van Richten's Guide was not necessarily to play Barovia and Ravenloft. It's if you want to leave Barovia and have another Barovia-like experience, another Ravenloft experience, but without Strahd. So I think that is... But I think the general... I don't know. I'm wondering... Maybe it's just the circles I'm in, and maybe some people were really excited about it, but... Because I know people at my group really wanted to play a Ravenloft adventure, but when we were talking about it, they were like, well, why don't we just play Ravenloft? I'm like, you're right. I haven't played it. Like, we should just play that. So then it's like, well, maybe we can use some of these, but there aren't a lot of new mechanics except for some subclasses and, like, maybe some fear and insanity stuff. I don't know. So, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a Van Richten's was not one that was necessarily asked for, but they must have had on their 2-year list from 2 years ago. And I feel like if you were to go back from 2 years from when it's released, I remember there being a lot more conversation about, kind of, it'd be cool if we had a Ravenloft. It'd be cool, one of the best adventures ever is Strahd's Adventure. We had a lot more talk of that back in 2019, 2018, I think. But by the time we get to 2021, Yeah, I think that's we've gone by and we have new wants and needs or things that we were excited about or they were hinting at or were wondering if we were going to get, and it kind of had passed by a little bit. I think that interest in it, and I always thought that was a niche one, anyways, because I know there's a lot of people that really liked it, and there were people that'll never play it. I never felt like there were people in between with the Curse of Strahd adventure books. Like there was either your group really wanted to play it or there was no interest at all,
Yeah, I don't know.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. It's I would, but I'm trying to think of where I am on that spectrum. Because I'm curious, but you're right, I don't crave the like gothic horror. I really like being, I don't know, the super I like puns and I like dumb jokes and things like that. And so it's like, we're going to do a really dark, gritty D&D 5e. That's probably not the game I would run, or probably not the game I would play in, and definitely not a game that I would run. I think I would have a hard time doing that, where I'm like, but I don't know. Like, I want the bad guy to turn to him and go, bats. And then he turns into a bat and flies away. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, isn't that funny? Like,
you want Count Chocula games.
Yes, Count Chocula.
You don't want, Vampire the Masquerade.
That's exactly what I
games.
want. But that's me. Like, I understand that other people want different things out of their RPGs.
Yeah, I think what people were looking for in that is, I always think they want what Vampire the Masquerade kind of has, which is all the different clans and all the different fighting and all the different maneuvering that they're doing within the world and in the shadows of the regular world. And you get to play in something like that, but they want D&D rules, which I think they like better than they like, because for me,
they don't want to learn a new system.
RPing and acting than it is dice rolling and combat. It's like more conversation and less gameplay, right? Whereas we know D&D, you're going to be rolling D20s constantly. That's what the whole thing's about. So they want a system that's about, Van Helsing and battling, the monsters that are out there. And I don't know if we got that. I guess we get it with a little bit with that book, but no, I don't think it really satisfied that too much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a whole huge crowd of people out there, but nobody talked about it on Twitter a ton. Nobody was pulling things out of the book and saying, oh, this one thing was super cool in the book. And, there wasn't huge conversations about it that I saw.
No, and I mean, from my perspective, I was making a lot of videos up into the release of it because it was like, I'm doubling down on this, and I was excited for that. Once it finally came out, I made like a couple more, and then I kind of just stopped. Nobody really said anything. And we're all kind of like, okay, I guess he has his unfinished Van Richten's, or his unfinished Domains of Dread videos. Part of that, though, well, I will say that I did get a couple people that were like, are you going to start that up again? So there is interest, but we'll see. So I also want to say Kingdoms of Warfare, the PDF at least, came out in 2021. We still don't have the book.
But that's good.
But
all the
Arcadia again, a book
stuff.
I haven't used, but like I really like MCDM stuff, and I think the real winner of 2021 is Arcadia. MCDM. That first issue came out, it was so good, it was awesome, and we were just like, I think this is what we've always wanted, because Matt just wants to make cool stuff, and he hires people that also want to make cool stuff. And so these guys are putting so much heart and enthusiasm into those articles and art and all that other stuff that it really comes across. I can't wait for the Arcadia like volume 1 to come out, and I can have a compilation of all of those in a nice hardback book. We'll see if they do that. I think they will, but but
an anthology. What do they call those? Not an anthology. I thought there was a term for that when they brought them all together.
Probably is
an omnibus or something like that,
and a MCDM Arcadia Assemble kind of thing.
Yes, very cool.
Yeah, big Thor's hammer.
No, I still think Kobold Press had a strong year. I think. I think Paizo's, if you look at their list, had a strong release of product year. I thought Monty Cook had a pretty strong release year. So,
well, and that goes into Kickstarters, where this was the most tabletop Kickstarter year ever. And the most money made from tabletop Kickstarters with Avatar, Airbender, Airbender making over like 10 million or something crazy.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, lots of stuff. It's crazy.
Well, we've got a lot to look forward to. We've got a lot that's going to be coming up in 2022. What was the rest of 2021? Any of our shows stand out? Anything to remember from just doing what we do? Any big moments?
No, I just really liked our vertical hex crawl that
Consistency?
we keep bringing up and talking
do
about
still
that.
like
So
that, yes.
that's kind of fun. I don't go back and listen to these shows. I barely get them edited. What are you talking about? This is crazy. Yeah.
No, I still that's Bardic Inspiration was still pretty fun for me. I think when we started the year with a lot of those,
We started doing the monster manual switch up, which was fun.
yeah,
And we could get
looking
back
at
to
monsters.
that too.
Yeah,
Just like making an adventure from a random monster in the DMGA.
show evolution, some type of show evolution that we should have at some point. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good, consistent, solid year, but it was like a year to continue doing what we were doing and not make it seem like the world was trying to either slow things down or break things up or stop you from doing stuff. And you were just trying to make it seem like everything is normal. So 2021 was like acting normal even when it was okay not to act normal, or, things aren't normal. But I felt that's what the show will look like if you go back and really watch all those episodes. And we put out a lot of episodes. What was the number total? Like if we're on 190 was the last one we did, and the first one we did was what?
Oh, 145?
145 so 90. So that's a lot of shows for an internet podcast. That's pretty good. Do the math on that. Yeah, 145 would have been 102. Would have been the first one. I think it's interesting just to go back to and just see some of the things we were thinking. What could they do? Will they do Strixhaven? Will they do Innistrad? Will they do Kaldheim? They did Strixhaven. Hey, look, the sidekicks got revisited. Or, are they going to do Shadowfell or Feywild? Are they going to do Plains, Spelljammer, Dark Sun, or Greyhawk for a D&D setting? They did sort of Feywild, when we were looking at stuff. It's just funny to kind of go back to that. Candlekeep Adventures, yep. And then we started talking about 17 one-shots. And MC DM's Arcadia, we started talking about that like right when it happened. And lots of good stuff in there. Lots of good guests. We had a lot of good guests this year, too.
No, I was going to talk about Kickstarters, too. And we had WebDM, because their Kickstarter launched this year. And we had Celeste and the Venture Maidens Kickstarter launched this year.
We had Lex on.
Lex, he's doing lots of fun videos with Lex lately. It's been really cool. Anyway, so I think it was a good year, but it feels kind of like an uneventful year in a way, which is weird because there were like more Kickstarters and lots of other stuff happening than any previous year. But we were talking about it. You look at that list of books, and I was more excited for Arcadia than I was about a lot of those other things. So
yeah, we had David Somerville on from Pangea. Both back that.
I'm very excited for that. And then going into Kickstarters, I'm so excited for some of these Kickstarters because I backed Pangea and Mothership and Monty Cook's Planebreaker. Like, these are so cool. The Herbalist Primer, Tome of Heroes, which has all those character options by Kobold Press. I did a Forbidden Lands one. Call of Cthulhu should be arriving here like any day. The DCC Dying Earth Kickstarter. Worlds of WebDM. Venture Maidens campaign. Pixels, the Electronic Dice. Crypt of the Devilich. Like, there's lots of cool stuff
you did a bunch here.
Should be coming my way in the next year. But I was thinking about it. I stopped running Rod of Seven Parts at the end of 2020, I think. No, maybe it was 2019. I don't remember. But, like, I haven't ran a lot of games since then because of moving in a new house and a lot of other stuff that happened. But this Dungeon Crawl Classics game that I'm running now, I think is, like, the first one of 2020, or that was the first game for 2021 that I started late October, so it's kind of crazy.
We had Steven on the show, your friend, talk to us about his games and stuff he was playing. Trying to make sure we didn't. Nathan was on. No, we haven't had Nathan on yet. think we keep talking about having Nathan on.
He's been on once. Yep.
Was he on once?
Yep.
Okay.
Clearly
on,
very
or was it
memorable
just
for you.
Yes.
You were here.
I was here. Dang it. I'm trying to remember. Who else did we have? And there's another person I'm trying to think of. I'm going through the list here. Ghost of Salt Marsh. They got a board game. Remember that. Yep, we talked to WebDM. Although it could be another year I'm thinking of too. Oh, we had James on.
We did have James
this year
on. That's
for
right.
the first time. Yeah, we had James on.
Nathan was on the show March 20th, episode 155.
God, that's so good.
Because that's when Candlekeep Mysteries was out. And there was a UA for Folk of the Feywild.
Who's our New Zealand buddy? Other YouTuber came on our show for the first time, does lore videos just like you.
AJ Pickett?
You guys, AJ was on.
Yeah.
This year, wasn't it? Yeah, it was this year.
Maybe.
Or was it last year? I think it was this year. We had a lot of guests this year. That's why it's hard to remember all of them.
Yeah, AJ was 160.
Yes, see? AJ came on. So we got to come back and get some more guests for the coming year. Bring some of the guests back and see what they're up to and what they're doing. Those are all the ones I remember now. I think we've named them all now. That was the one I was trying to... AJ was the one I was just going through. Where is it? Where's AJ?
I agree, chat. It does feel like 2021 was just an extended 2020. Maybe that's because we were all trapped inside. Although,
and it wasn't a bad year.
People went to conventions, and it could have happened. Like I was looking at it, and I'm like, no, I could have flown to PAX Unplugged. I really want to, but I decided not to. But we'll see. We'll see how it evolves again. But I am definitely going to try and reserve a hotel and stuff for Gen Con this year. So
yeah, it felt weird, but like looking back, I'm in a better spot than I was when the year started. You know, things have continued to improve. So it's been a good year, even though my mind doesn't want to think it was a good year. But I'm looking forward to 2022.
Yeah, what products do you think you want from third party or other for 2022?
All of them. I want more Kobold Press stuff to give me more classes and things to do. I would like another strong monster manual, a Fiend Folio level monster manual. One that becomes classic and iconic, one that people still talk about 20 years later kind of thing.
New monsters then instead of rehashed stuff? Or?
Yeah, and new artwork and no more rehashed. We've done this back in previous, like new artwork from new artists that have come up with some really interesting stuff, giving it to writers to write some really interesting things about them and really add to it.
And again, I think that's Kobold Press. Like if you look at the Tome of Beasts 2 and stuff, there's a ooze that is a shark in a ooze bowl. And like the ooze moves, and then when it absorbs somebody, the shark swims around and attacks you. And that's a goofy monster, but they have amazing art for it, and they have a great write-up for it. And the devil, like archdevils that were in Tome of Beasts 2, or maybe it was Creature Codex, I don't remember. One of those books were very good and had awesome write-ups. And specifically, there was like a frog that fell into the river Styx that became sentient and evil and is now called the Collector, and like grabs people and puts them in little boxes and stuff because he's trying to collect all the... I don't know. I was like, that's so good. That's a great villain to have. So
I'm looking for maybe for a lot more of those companies to see how well Airbender did on Kickstarter, so that some of the other really fun anime shows that are out there that are super cool and have big, the Pokemons and the Naruto's and the, everything else that's out there. My Hero Academia get their own TTRPG button kickstarted and $10 million, $12 million to build it, and then we have those. I would love to have that. Just to have that kind of artwork inside a book, inside of characters that you could play and have a really fun gaming session.
I don't know if you're a Dark Souls fan, but I was surprised to see that Dark Souls is getting a tabletop RPG. Yeah. And I've played, I think I got halfway through the first one, and I know that there's a lot of lore there that's hidden, so maybe the RPG experience of it will be playing the video game doesn't feel very storytelling, which is why I think it's an odd choice for a tabletop RPG. But maybe it'll work out because there's a lot there that I don't know. But I mean, I think we're getting into a direction like that where people are just like, I like RPGs, I like Dungeons and Dragons. Now I also want to play Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I want, like they like these franchises and they want to play. I know that Hasbro is taking their properties like Transformers and Power Rangers, and they're making tabletop RPGs for those. So we could be like 2022, 23 could be like the huge.
Another big franchise.
You always talk about that renaissance that's here or is coming, and this could be like, okay, we're gonna. I don't know. It would
saturate the market.
It would be so interesting to, if it was a kind of a similar system, and you could mash up, G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Heck yeah. And all the Hasbro stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Power Rangers all working together to stop
save the universe.
Dark Souls. I don't know.
Yeah, the Demon Gate from opening. Yes, Doom. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. There's a computer game out that's coming. Tiny Tina's. They're doing a adventure that the premise is she's a dungeon master in the world, but then you're actually playing the video game.
This is a Borderlands spin-off.
Yeah, because she did Tiny Keep. Yeah, Assault on Somebody's Keep, and that was like a 3-hour. It was pretty fun, and it didn't really have a ton of RPG stuff. It was still mostly Borderlands. But this is more of a standalone, and they're going to have a lot more RPG and class elements from RPGs in it. But you still can be a wizard with a gun, kind of thing too. So it looks pretty funny. I'm looking forward to that. That's I think it's in February or March that comes out, and that'll be fun.
And if you haven't seen the trailer for that, it's very self-referential. Yeah. And there's a point where you can't go any further because the way is blocked, and then you hear the DM be like, "Oh, let me get that," and then a giant hand picks up a Cheeto, and you're allowed to like move forward. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, they break the fourth wall quite a few times in it. And she's funny. She's a good voice actor. She's been on Critical Role quite a few times. That actor, Amy, is that her name? It starts with a B. Last name is a B, I think.
Ashley Birch.
Ashley Birch, that's it. She's the voice of Tiny Tina, does a really good job at it. So I'm looking forward to that. What else am I looking forward to for D&D stuff? Monty Cook stuff. I would love to see some new Numenera stuff. I'd love to see if they're going to start on something different that they're doing with their Cypher system. I'm excited to see what Paizo does with their year. I'm excited for Kobold Press. I mean, all these people, and Modifius has always put out good. Every year, they put out things that I must have, Aliens, and just all the different Tales from the Loop, and all the different books I get from them.
Forbidden Lands is still a game that I want to run long term, like
Forbidden Lands.
I have bought a couple adventures because I like reading adventures, but it's just such a good game. But if I think about all of the games I want to play. I'm getting back into that. Well, you're gaming like 4 nights a week, and pre-baby that was possible, and I was able to game all of the time. But post-baby, I'm like, wow, you take up a lot of time and energy.
You should go back.
No, it's just life changes. So,
Gen Con again. I definitely want to try to make Gen Con this year. I think 2022. So
we'll see. Hopefully, the world will be less fire. Because I just miss my friends. It was really fun. Yeah. It was really reinvigorating to see everybody at Gen Con. And then to not go was like, aw.
Oh, yeah. Because it felt like we were gaining a lot of momentum and you just had a lot of energy moving forward. Where I hadn't had a point this year that's where you feel like you have a lot of energy and you're ready to move forward. Mm-hmm. There's not been that excitement. But maybe if we'd have went to, Unplugged, or maybe if we would have went to Gen Con, it would have happened, because I know Ted was out there, and
no, a lot of people went.
A lot of people
they're trying to make it happen, and they limited capacity, and everyone was masked. It's not going to solve this, but they were taking the cautionary things, because conventions, especially for board gamers, like Gen Con is like that's when they sell things, And so to not go to Gen Con and not have that is like, well, our profits just took a huge loss this year because I can't get people to go to a website, but I can be like, people are walking the floor and they're like, oh, what's that? Or I'm a retailer and now I want 80 of those in my store. Okay.
So what do we think we're going to see from Jordan's channel 2022, the Lore Master? You got big plans? You got a big list of stuff you're already working on?
I want to go back.
What can you hint at?
Well, I want to go back to making a video a week for the main channel. I've been so busy and balancing the new job and stuff that I haven't been as consistent as I want to be. And for the other channel, Jordan's Jocular Junction, minimum I want to do a video every other week covering some other new type of RPG. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know what life will bring. But as Forgotten Realms, I feel like the sun is setting on the Forgotten Realms in a way.
And I wish it hadn't, because we didn't get a lot of new stuff. We got a lot of rehashed.
Yeah, mostly because there's not new source books for them, so I can only kind of talk about the older stuff. And I do talk about it when it's there, but for me to cover like this section of the Forgotten Realms, although some of those older videos I could definitely make better, I'm not sure if I would revisit them because it's already kind of been done. So going forward, I would like to cover more Spelljammer, hopefully, especially if there's more Spelljammer on the way. People were talking about doing more of the Domains of Dread and actually like finishing that and doing the Domains of Dread, and also on top of Domains of Dread, there are some... Oh, I lost my train of thought because we just got a $20 donation from Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Yay, Steve. We want to do more stuff that Steve likes.
Exactly.
Steve likes stuff.
As far as the Jocular Junction channel, though, I wanted to do some game diaries and just talk about, like, here's the game I'm running and blah, 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 and what I think about it. I've got a new dungeon. A lot of people want more Dungeon Crawl Classic stuff, but it's hard because there's not a lot I can do aside from reviewing very specific modules, which I might do. But I don't know, just kind of keep the lore train going. I had an idea of doing something called TED Talks with Nerd Immersion's Ted, where we would argue about things that we disagree on.
Always take the opposite side of him.
Yeah, basically, I'd be like, well, I don't want that,
Yeah.
So we'll see if that happens. But it was a good year. I hit 100,000. And I think I just want to make content. Well, I want to make the content that I'm excited about because that's what has always fulfilled me and the reason that I like the channel. I don't want to do videos that people are like, oh, I don't want to do videos that I am doing because in my mind I'm like, well, this will sell well or this will get a lot of clicks. If that is fine, if that couples with I'm very excited about it. But if I'm not, I'm kind of like, I don't know. But we'll see. I don't know. There's lots to dig into. And especially if I start doing more Endigar stuff and writing my own lore, that could be a lot of fun to explore that path too. So
yeah, or if you get an actual campaign off the ground of that, where that leads and some of the stuff that goes on with that.
And then really talking about it and just like the thoughts. Because I think I think about the videos that I like to watch. And I really do like watching the mindset of other DMs. And I think kind of one of the reasons we started this show too is like, oh, I'm not the only one that has that problem. Like other people feel like this when they're DMing games and things like that. And definitely world creation. I'm noticing a lot of stuff that I watch. I'm just like, oh, we're all kind of the same, but there isn't really a forum where we all talk and know about these problems, And it's also interesting, the D&D world building and the fiction author. Those two worlds really overlap a lot in my going out and exploring things. I've been studying magic systems, and it's amazing how many cool blogs and videos I find. And then midway through, I'm like, oh, this is for like a fantasy novelist. I thought
Are you watching Brandon Sanderson stuff?
I have been watching Brandon Sanderson
You
stuff.
have. Somehow I've been watching that too in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, he's talking about Brandon.
Yeah. I got a whole video on Brandon that I've been
Yeah.
slowly writing and stuff, and I was going to work on.
Because it's great because he puts his BYU stuff up on his YouTube channel, so you can go and listen to him talk about world building, and it's really good stuff.
For those of you who don't know, Brandon Sanderson is one of the authors for... Well, he's an author, but he helped finish
Prolific?
Not Dragonlance, but what was
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time series.
Which has just been out on Amazon, which is why he's relevant at the moment. Yeah.
So he's been working on Wheel of Time for a long time, and he has his own... as like a ghostwriter, I guess, because the author, Robert Jordan, passed away. And I think a lot of his friends had to like pick up the reins and finish that series. So he was one of them. But
yeah, he wrote the last 3 books.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
so very good. But he's super smart, and he talks about fiction quite a bit and his magic systems. That's how I got into it, because I was trying to figure out other cool magic systems for the stuff I was doing for some of the kind of like my side projects, and I saw that same thing, magic systems. I'm like, oh, let's listen to this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hard magic and soft magic. And I was like, oh, this is really
good.
And
it is really interesting. It's funny to, well, we're getting it, not spoilers, but like
it's a whole nother
the whole
show
video is I was watching that, and I'm like, I have a huge problem with Harry Potter where I feel like magic solved too many things and there were no limitations. And then by the end of the series of Harry Potter, we had made like some loose rules to basically give tension. Like, okay, well, I want to, and I always go back to a spell that unlocks something, Aloha Mora. And then they're just like, Aloha Mora, oh, that won't work here because they've guarded against it. And I'm like, you wrote yourself into a corner. You can do that with magic systems in D&D. You can write yourself into a corner, basically, where all of a sudden you are like a creative player, and this is with D&D 5e as well. A creative player can manipulate the spells or the abilities to get an unwanted effect by the DM. And this whole idea of creating rules for magic is really interesting because it's like, what is the skeletal foundation to... build upon so that I don't have these problems where players are just like, I outsmarted you, DM. I know your weakness. It's Aloha Mora, so.
Yeah, it's the flying carpet you gave us, because once you give them the flying carpet,
it's over. It's over.
Campaign done. The shenanigans they get up to with that. So as you can see, we have plenty of more to talk about in 2022 for sure. What's the other thing? I just thought of something else. I was like, oh, there's one more thing I wanted to say.
Oh, I also, before we leave, I want to start the D&D book club again. I don't know, some of you know this, but a while ago, I was trying to do a D&D book club where we were all going to read the Avatar series from the Forgotten Realms. And boy, howdy, did I get halfway through that book, and it was awful, and I could not finish it. So, if you are on our Discord, there is a book club section towards the bottom of our Discord, and I posted in there, like, how do you guys feel about starting this up? We'll read it for the month of January, and it is Keith Baker's City of Spires, book 1 of this Eberron trilogy that he wrote. A lot of people say it's really good. I think it could be a lot of fun. So if you want to read it, there are some links to go pick it up. The idea is that we'll read it, and then... sometime at the beginning of February, end of January, I'll host a live Q&A and try to bring on some other people that I trust to be good on camera and also that have read the book. And we'll just answer comments and do like a casual talk. And I don't know. I know that there's some other YouTubers that were talking about doing like a D&D book club. I'm not trying to steal their thunder. I just had this idea a long time ago, and it really fits the idea of the lore channel. Yeah. I've just never been able to get it off the ground because it takes a lot of time. But it was actually James, who I think is really cool. I'm a fan of James. James said that he started reading a book a week. And I was like, okay, like I read a lot, but I don't know. But he it's such a simple idea. He's like, count the number of pages in the book and divide it by 7. Now you know how many pages a day you have to read to get through it. And I was like, oh, so I did that with like, I only have to read like 13 pages a day to get through this book for the month of January. I can totally do that. So,
Right.
you guys should go read City of Spires with us. So,
I think I will.
it'll be
I
fun.
do have
There's
one
also an
last
audiobook
resolution.
for it. You could listen to it. Go ahead. Sorry.
I could do that. One last resolution. We are going to conquer Dungeon of the Mad Mage in 2022.
Yes.
Hey, look. listen.
Siren.
It's happening.
Happy New Year. I want you to conquer Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and we should have you and Danimal and maybe some of your other friends and in the campaign, and we'll do like a big, like deep dive
Campaign recap.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, not
God,
even
yeah.
a recap, but just like let's discuss what made this adventure. Because you guys are having a lot of fun with it, and I enjoy the stories. So
Yeah, you could do. What's the one they do with Critical Role where they have the one guy who's not in the campaign, but he asks all the questions of the players and the DM.
Mm-hmm.
They have their sit down. They have a name for that show, but we could do that. That'd be really fun.
That'd be
you
fun.
could be the host.
Yeah,
Asking a bunch of questions. That'd be awesome.
I love it. So good. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show and all that stuff. We have, like some awesome people here today, and some new faces. And thank you again, Steve, for the donation. That's really nice of you. Thank you again for the members of the Saturday Morning D&D show, like Peter and Steve. You guys are awesome. We will be back next week. And I don't know what we'll talk about, but I'm running Dungeon Crawl Classics tomorrow, so I'm very excited to run a game. And I think we'll talk about all that other stuff. You guys are great. Anything else, Lucien? No. Okay. See you guys later. See you next time on the Saturday Morning D&D show. Goodbye.